Hey, it's the second balcony, a post-game kind of edition here, which I don't know how often we'll be able to do these, but it's your pal Greg. It's our guy Frank coming to you from the second balcony. Blackhawks just wrapped up their season opener to the Florida Panthers a little while ago, about an hour ago, and lost 3-2, but could have very easily lost 13-1.
Yeah, Spencer Knight definitely can cash that first check off the new contract with a clear conscience.
Yeah, he was so good tonight that they'll probably stop screaming Knight during the national anthem down there, which is weird that they still do that. The dude is not on your team and you were playing against him. I'm going to assume they did that because of him in the first place.
I have a friend who's a big Panthers fan, and I'm gonna say, hey, is the Knight for Spencer Knight? Or
I mean, a local reporter asked him yesterday, like saying, "Hey, they still do that," and he was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." So that made me think that it was for Spencer Knight, but
okay.
Probably
I know they
stop
do
doing
that
that
in Vegas. It makes sense there,
right? That makes sense, and they Stars in Dallas, and yeah, but well, they won. Had he stole that game, they probably would have stopped doing that immediately. But
yeah,
Spencer Knight was the story of the game, no doubt about that. Especially in the first period tonight, Spencer Knight makes 34 saves at the end. Can't blame him for any of the goals he gave up.
No, Florida, and here's the thing, the Blackhawks, it was their very first game with their new coach and their new system, and they got to try it out against the best forecheck on the planet. And you saw how it went.
Yeah, I mean,
even though they don't have Alexander Barkov, they still have Sam Bennett and everybody else.
Yeah, Sam Reinhart, Evan Rodriguez is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've still got that fourth line was really good tonight with Greer and Kunin, and they still got dudes on that team. They're still a very good hockey team.
AJ Greer has only been there a year, but he is such a fucking Panther.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing about them. Like they don't have Kachuk and they don't have Barkov, and they didn't look any worse.
No,
because they all buy in. They buy in the Panthers hockey. They've got 18 guys pulling in the same direction. Everybody accepts their role. Everybody knows their role. Then they accept it. Then they execute it. That's the recipe for winning hockey.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Joe Quenneville.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
of course it's easy to get guys to buy in when they're getting parades and rings.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Panthers, the injury to Barkov, I think, had a lot of people. It made me change my pick. I thought they were, before that, I thought there was no way. The only way they weren't going to win a third straight Stanley Cup was because of injuries. Right. And now they're dealing with it. And man, they had some scary moments tonight. Reinhart took a puck off the face and had to get stitched up. Rodriguez took a puck off the inside of the knee, and even Lundell got a puck to the face later. And it's like, oh boy, the hockey gods are
like inside his visor.
Yeah. Thankfully, the visor was there to kind of slow it down a little bit, but that could have been a lot worse. So it looks like the hockey gods might be coming for some karma this year with all these things. I'd be a little nervous. But they're still a good team. But the Blackhawks, they went toe-to-toe with them. They nearly stole one. The first period was ugly. Outshot 17-3, and just it reminded me of that game down there last year in February where Landon Slaggert scored 7 seconds into the game, and then the Panthers just brought out the whooping stick for the rest of the night.
Yeah, I went to that game with a Panthers fan. And we were both laughing by the end of the first period because, like, wow, Slaggert scored 7 seconds in. And I think the Panthers were just like, okay, that's enough of that. And their forecheck, I always talk about Florida's forecheck because it's just so good. And there's times, and I don't know if you can see it as well on TV as you can when you're in the barn watching them skate. It just feels like they've got 8 guys on the ice, and they don't, but they're everywhere, and they're always in the right place, and they just fill the ice.
It's relentless. They don't stop.
Yeah.
They don't stop. They don't take a shift off.
At the end of the game, they couldn't get Knight out of the net because
Mm-hmm.
Voracek was just making it hell.
Yeah. I mean, I was laughing. There were a few times I laughed at the clueless ESPN broadcast. Kevin Weeks sometimes. Kevin Weeks is fun to follow on social media with his breaking news posts, but as far as an analyst goes, he leaves a lot to be desired. During that situation when they were trying to get Knight off the ice, he was like, "Oh, this is bad situational awareness by the Blackhawks. They got to know how much time's left. Knight can't get off the ice. They don't have the puck.
Yeah,
they can't. He's not going to get off the ice when the Panthers have the puck in their zone."
Yeah, every time a Blackhawk got the puck, he was immediately surrounded by 4 Panthers.
Yeah, it was. And then there was a play.
Finally, they just, a puck hit a Panther and it was offsides, and that was how they were able to get the puck out of the zone.
Because they were about 2 inches away of getting a 3-on-1 rush in from the blue line in, and Verhaeghe would have scored his second of the night for my fantasy team, which I wouldn't have been upset at. Then there was a play, I think it was either early third period or late second period, where Sam Bennett came at hard at Connor Murphy, and Murphy kind of stood up and held his own and went after him in return. And Kevin Weeks was like, "Oh, Connor Murphy not running away from Sam Bennett. That's impressive." Have you ever watched Connor Murphy play hockey before? Right. Like, come on, man. If Artem Levshinov does that, then you can be like, "Wow, I'm impressed. The kid didn't back down." It's Connor Murphy. I don't know. But there's a lot of things on ESPN that make me cringe.
Makes you long for the days of Pierre Maguire.
Almost. I mean, the studio crew is terrible. Sleepy Mark Messier and TJ Oshie, who, I'm going to give TJ Oshie a little leeway because he's new at this. But I don't know. That makes me hit the mute button. But Spencer Knight, fantastic. One thing that I noticed, and Kevin Weeks pointed it out too, because he is good for the goalie stuff, is I like how Knight kind of knows when to stand straight up and knows when to get in the butterfly, and he's moving around a lot. He's not just stuck to, I got to be low at all times. He knows when to fill the net. He knows when to get up and look around for traffic. Very impressive technical game from Spencer Knight.
Yeah, he is the hybrid goalie in the purest sense of the word. And he's a really good. He's a smart goalie. And we've seen other, like, Corey was another guy who was like that. He knew when to stay up, when to go down, and those are the goalies that they stop a lot of pucks because they know when to do what they need to do at the right time. Because we've seen guys who just the other guy that was always funny was Tim Thomas. He would just get in the net and look like he was being attacked by hornets. There was like no style to his play at all.
Yeah, he was a less flexible Dominic Hasek.
Yeah,
he would just flail around, but the puck always seemed to hit him. Being built like a tank also helped in Thomas's thing. But and Spencer Knight is a very smart, insightful guy too. Very, in his brief time that I've gotten to know him and talk to him in the locker room, he's always got something thoughtful to say, which is rare in an NHL room, especially at the goalies' stalls. But he was very appreciative of his time in Florida when they talked to him yesterday, but you knew he had a chip on his shoulder because everybody, the first time they play against a team that traded him, regardless of the circumstances, they want to make him regret him, giving him up. And, so far so good for Spencer Knight.
And, those guys always have money on the table too. Like, hey, whoever gets the game-winning goal gets 10 grand, that sort of thing.
Well, Jesper Boquist is going to be picking up the tab then for the next round of steak dinners. The better Boquist with the game-winning goal tonight. Overall,
again, it was 3 guys on night.
Yeah, and that was just one of those plays where it was like, the puck goes off the end boards and then batted out a minute. Those are the plays great teams make, and a team like the Blackhawks wouldn't be able to do in a million years. When you're dominating the league, you can make plays like that.
Well, especially when it's your home ice, you've been playing together for a while. You know exactly how the puck comes off the boards.
Yeah.
I don't know that there'll ever be a rink that had boards like Joe Louis Arena. But,
those things were trampolines. Like those were ridiculous.
But still, these guys know how the pucks come off the boards. It's something they're able to practice because it's their barn.
Yeah. But overall, can't complain too much about what we saw from the Hawks. It was awful to start, but not unexpected. You knew the Panthers were going to be, emotional. You knew they were going to come out ready. The pace of that first period was incredible. And then they made some adjustments in the second period. They got the early goal from Teuvo Teravainen to tie the game. And then they weren't able to give up a goal on the very next shift like they did earlier in the game and like they've done 1,000 times over the last decade, because Brad Marchand and grabbed Teuvo's stick on the ensuing faceoff and gave him a power play immediately after the goal.
Yeah.
But they weren't able to capitalize on that. But, they hung tough and they had a chance. It was the second line. Frank Nazar, he's a problem for the rest of the NHL. He was amazing tonight.
And this is something we talked about where the last couple of years, any team that played the Hawks, the strategy was throw the kitchen sink at Bedard and they don't have any other scoring line. And now that second line, and those guys all play together well. They know where everybody is on the ice, and you see the way they're moving the puck to each other. They're gonna be a real problem for the whole season. And like Messier, I think it was after the second period, Messier was just gushing about Nazar.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people that didn't really see him last year or weren't paying attention, and then they saw that contract and then looked at his stats and were like, 14 goals, and you're giving this guy 7 years and all this money, and then they watched tonight and said, oh, okay, I see why.
Yeah.
That line struggled overall. They were hemmed in their zone the first half of the game, but got better. But those 2 clean breakouts led to the 2 goals, the Nazar breakaway and then the 2-on-1 great pass setting up Teuvo. Bobrovsky didn't think he was going to pass in a million years, and then he was late getting over. Bertuzzi with 2 assists. So each one of those guys with 2 points tonight. It's exciting to have 2 lines, or you had one that really looked good offensively. And Jeff Blashill, despite spending all training camp talking about chemistry and patience, swaps the first line 40 minutes into the season. Put Mikheyev up on the top line, put Donato down on the third line.
Burakowski, they could have brought that big shepherd's hook and just yanked him off the ice.
I'm hoping it was just maybe he saw something in video, was looking to exploit a matchup, but even when he put Mikheyev on that top line, it didn't yield a whole lot. I'm hoping we're not going to get in this revolving door thing. I know it's early, so you could play around a little bit, but let Bedard have some regular line mates here. The way this team is constructed, those are the 2 most logical guys in Donato and Burakovsky. I mean, do they really have anybody else currently that's a top 6 guy?
No.
Not really.
And this is the thing. It's like right now, and we talked about this last week, they have the 4 lines. You got your 2 scoring lines, you've got your third line that's kind of your checking line, and you got your fourth line, which is your grinder energy line. So you've got and it's not just that you have 12 forwards and you got to put them somewhere. They actually have the lines serving their roles. So the next step is, as guys start coming up, you get better guys in those spots.
Yeah.
And so that's the next thing, is that you've got the lines. Now you just need to fill them in with better personnel, and that'll come. You and I have talked, and I know you have written a couple of times in the past week about what's going on over in Europe with Frundell and with Kanserov. So those are two guys. By this time next year, Bedard might be skating between those two guys.
That would be really, really fun. Really, really fun. Because it's starting to look like Frundell is destined to be a winger. Because since they moved him to the wing, he's been dynamite.
He's been dynamite, and he is a strong boy. He's a corn-fed boy.
Yeah, you mentioned it on a previous episode, maybe the last time we got together, that he's starting to show a little Marian Jose in him. And that's a good thing. Not saying that's who he's going to be, but he's got that big body. He's tough to get off the puck, and he plays all facets of the game well. So, yeah, exciting stuff coming. And speaking of Bedard, he was definitely very noticeable tonight, even though the Panthers were not giving him a lot of space on the ice, daring Andrei Burakovsky and Ryan Donato to beat them. But he still made things happen. He hit the post in the first period, got robbed there, thought he had a goal. I think he finished with six shot attempts total.
Yeah.
Which is, slightly better than most nights last year. 2 got on net. But he looked aggressive out there, and that move on Seth Jones in the second period, where he just, the Seth Jones jockstrap was hanging up right next to that new banner there. But Bravosky made
the skating work is definitely showing.
Yeah. Even Kevin Weeks said down on ice level, he's noticed a big change, and the goals will come, the plays will come. He's still adjusting to being able to make quicker plays too. That's going to take a little bit of time for him to be like, oh, I could do that now. But he looked good out there, and he made a couple plays that, away from the puck, that he's starting to get that all around game that all the greats do. Specifically in the third period, Blackhawks got a power play, and right off the draw, they gave up an odd man rush going the other way, and he came back on a 2-on-1 rush and broke up a play there and made a really nice play. There was another defensive play he made in the first period where the Panthers took the puck away and then looked like they were going to break out the zone, and he had his stick there and kept it in. So that's encouraging stuff, because it seems
he almost got in alone on Bobrovsky on that.
Yeah. I mean, so he's doing those little things that don't show up in a score sheet, that don't make the highlight reels. But they're the things that all the great players do in order to win. And that's a very encouraging start to his season.
The other guy who really impressed me tonight, I felt like no matter where the puck was, number 44 was there. Like Wyatt Kaiser was all over the ice all night.
He was definitely noticeable for sure. He's a guy that, some people on social media would like to tell you he's an AHL replacement level defenseman. There's other people that tell you that this is a true number 1 Norris Trophy winner defenseman. Neither of those are true, but it's somewhere in between those two ends of the spectrum. But he's a very solid player and very confident. He's a guy that never lacks confidence. You see him come off the ice into the room. He's got a certain like quiet swagger to him where he's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing here, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think he's the perfect partner for Lev Shinoff just because he's so efficient and is rarely out of place.
Yeah, and Lev Shinoff wound up with pretty good Corsi numbers tonight. And I think a lot of that was because Kaiser was bailing him out a lot.
Yeah, it was a rough start
on a game by game basis. You'll see that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rough start for Artie, and Sam Renzel did not have a very good game either. Especially when you look at the possession numbers. Renzel got caught in no man's land on that power play goal that they allowed. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there. He kept like looking over, but Rodriguez was behind the net. He wasn't going to do anything there when you've got an absolute sniper in Carter Verhaeghe with the puck that close. You got to go get him. So that's a teachable moment for sure. He had some puck management issues. Lev Shinoff's night didn't start off well. He had a turnover on his first shift. There was a
couple of sloppy penalties.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't the most egregious, but, when you're a young rookie defenseman playing against a team like the Panthers, you're going to get those called against you. There was another play early in the period when the Hawks finally looked like they were getting some offensive zone time. They had the Bedard line in the zone, and he fumbled a keep at the blue line that made them, lose possession. So, but he recovered. He played well the second half of the game, and his numbers overall don't look terrible, especially the way they started. But that's what you're going to get with these guys. Like we saw Renzel look so good at the end of last year, and we saw him look so good in rookie camp in the preseason. And Lev Shinoff, looked pretty good last year when he got here. But you know what? They never played the Florida Panthers at the end of last year. Like, this is a different breed of cat they're dealing with, no pun intended. Like, this is the cream of the crop. They've never faced anything like this in their hockey lives. So, of course, they're going to struggle right out of the gate. But they both got their feet under them as the game went on and were fine by the end of the night. But going through social media after first period and looking at all these Nimrods making declarations that these two guys, especially Lev Shinoff, oh, I can't believe they took Demidov over this guy, blah, blah. It's like, it's one period against the best team in hockey. I don't know what you were expecting, but it got better. And, hey, this is actually a really good first game to have for these young guys to get a taste of what it needs to be every night right off the bat. Because you know what? The Boston Bruins on Thursday, they played like they did in the second and third period. That's 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I was even thinking that. It's like, man, after tonight, they're going to get into Boston and they're going to be, wow, these guys are. And the Bruins are a team that will be, they're a borderline, they'll probably make the playoffs. And I mean, they've got Pasternak, they got some good players, but it's going to seem like a night off after 60 minutes against the Panthers.
Yeah, speaking of night offs, the Blackhawks were originally supposed to have tomorrow off, but after that game, Jeff Blashill's now having them practice at TD Garden. He wasn't happy with the execution, so lots of teachable moments in that game, and it looks like they're just going to get right on the ice, and he's going to teach them to them. No, that for sure. You definitely need that. It's early in the season. You don't need a day off this early. Go out and work on the things, get those passes and that puck management a little more crisper, and move on to the next game.
Yep. And see what you can do against Boston. And then, if you could pick up 2 points there, you come home for the home opener.
Yeah, and Montreal's a good young team, but they're a year or two ahead of the Blackhawks as far as where they are, but they're still a young team. So young teams are inconsistent teams. So you could possibly
that'll be a really good measuring stick game.
Yeah,
I know 3 games in is a little early to be talking about measuring stick games, but that's kind of where you'll be.
Yeah, there are a few of those, right? I mean, you had Panthers now. Boston is a team you should you not should, but you can beat. The Blackhawks shouldn't beat anybody at this point, but they can beat them.
Well,
Montreal,
Nashville.
well, I mean, they're coming soon though. Like, once you get home, you've got Montreal, which is a winnable game on home ice, home opener, 100th season. Building's going to be rocking. Then after that, it's Utah. That's a team that you need to, you're aspiring to be. You're trying to get to that level by the end of the season. Then it's the Blues, which is a team that's, on its downside. But it's a team that whooped your ass all last season, so maybe go out and set the tone early. Then you got games against Vancouver and Anaheim. I mean, those are teams you can beat. They've got a chance to pick up some points here in the first few games. But that's going to be on, again, if they use tonight's game and their effort tonight and apply it to these, teams that aren't in the same league as the Panthers, you should be able to win some games.
And I think Vlasic's going to be back for Boston or Montreal.
The plan is Boston. That's not 100% sure, but they were. Blashill said he just wanted to get him one more practice, so I would think he'd be out there for Boston. I know Alex wants to play in Boston. He's still got a lot of buddies out there, so that's a big game for him. So that'll be good to get Vlasic with Rinzel again, because Matt Grzelcyk is fine, but also not great.
Right. He's fine. He'll be fine as a guy you can slot in next to Connor Murphy some nights, get you some points, and then become a third-round pick at the deadline.
Yeah, and that's the plan. Vlasic will be back. He'll be with Rinzel. That will make that pairing a lot better. Probably, do a lot of good for Rinzel to kind of get him settled a little better. He's got more chemistry with Vlasic from playing with him last year. And then you put Grzelcyk down. Even though, Del Mastro was not great in the preseason, I thought for sure he'd be in Rockford. And if it wasn't for the Vlasic injury, he would have been. But he was fine tonight playing with Murphy. There was never one point in the game where I was like, oh my God, what's Ethan Del Mastro doing? I barely noticed him, which when you're a defenseman, that's fine.
Yeah. And, I like his game, and he just, I don't know if he was trying to do too much in camp, but he seemed a lot more settled down. I think skating with Murphy was probably saying, look, we got 82 of these things. Don't try to do it all tonight.
Yeah. But overall, an encouraging first game despite the loss. That could have easily been last year. That would have been an 8-2 beaten. But Spencer Knight kept him in. I'm going to assume Soderblom gets the start in Boston. That's usually how coaches like to do it early. Get them
each in a game.
Yeah, and then Knight will get the home opener for sure. Looking forward to it'll be interesting tomorrow when they get on the ice to practice to see if Blashill goes back to the original line combinations or sticks with the changes. I'm hoping he goes back to what he had. It's far too early to start tinkering. You can't use a game against the Florida Panthers as a judge to if a line is working or not.
Right. It would be one thing if you're playing the Florida Panthers and you're, the Maple Leafs or, a team that wants to get to that echelon. But for the Blackhawks, you just came out of preseason and you get thrown right into the fire. The good news is they're done with Sunrise for the year.
Right. I know there's a lot of Blackhawks fans and beat writers that are upset that they did this trip in October, not February.
Well, it's funny because, hockey in Florida is, especially the Panthers draw every night now. 2 Stanley Cups will do that. The Lightning, they're a good draw.
Yeah.
So they don't need what they used to do, which was and also when the Coyotes were in Arizona, you always knew the Blackhawks were going to go to Arizona in late February or March because they were going to go to Arizona when the Cubs and White Sox were doing spring training.
Right.
Get them a good house. And all of the original 6 teams would always go down to Florida and Tampa in like January because that's when all the snowbirds would be there. And again, you can get some good houses. They don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
Both teams are good draws. In fact, I don't know if I've brought this up or not, but the ECHL, out of the top 7 draws in the ECHL, 3 of them are Florida teams.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's Jacksonville, Orlando, and the Florida Everblades.
They've been down there forever. What the Everblades are out of? Are they like in the Tallahassee area?
No, they're down by like Naples.
Oh, okay. So they're south. Okay.
They're south. They're southwest. But yeah, the Orlando Solar Bears, and the other thing for the Solar Bears, they play in Orlando. They actually play in an NHL sized arena. If they pulled the curtains back and like last Tuesday, they have an annual preseason game in Orlando, and it's always Lightning Panthers. It wasn't the big shit show game.
Right. It was the minor shit show game.
Yeah, it was a minor shit show game. The big shit show game, the Federal League game was Saturday.
Right. That was quite the thing.
But yeah, so yeah, hockey is a draw in Florida, so they don't need to do the thing where they bring down all the teams at a certain time of year because that's when there's the migratory people are here, the snowbirds.
Right. It also is a little strange that the Hawks are doing Florida and then going back to Tampa in like 2 weeks. Like it's very rare that they don't do them in the same trip.
Yeah, because last year they did Tampa, then Carolina, then
Florida. Yeah.
And
but it was the same trip at least. I mean, they didn't come home and then go back.
And it's funny because it's also the first time since I've lived down here that they haven't played in Sunrise on an afternoon on a weekend.
It was an afternoon on a weekday.
Right. I was going to say, yeah, I don't know how many people were, watching the game on their computers at work or anything like that. Fortunately for me, it was 5:00 Eastern, so I was able to sign off work and watch the game. But yeah, that's the only one of those PM weekday game we're getting. Except, the Olympics are probably going to show on delay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the time difference is there. I think they're 6 or 8 hours ahead.
Yeah, they're ahead.
So they would be like, it would be like Premier League games, for soccer, close to that, where they would probably be at like, first game would probably be at like 6 a.m. and then you'll probably get like a 9 a.m. and then maybe a noon game. So not terrible. I'd rather have that than, 2 a.m, 11 o'clock at night thing. So, but I'm sure they'll do the prime matchups will be, at good times.
The Miracle on Ice game was on tape delay. But it's also 1980 and there wasn't even ARPA night yet.
Yeah. So
if you weren't in the barn, you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Right. The different time. There wasn't a couple of putzes like us on the internet talking about it right after it happened.
Like to see the wolf. Like to see the wolf.
Yeah. All right. I think we've exhausted what we need to talk about for one game. Let's see what we get for the rest of the week with Boston and Montreal. But there were plenty of stuff going around the NHL that will have a direct effect on the Blackhawks, and namely Connor Bedard and his next contract. Connor McDavid signed his 2-year contract extension for $12.5 million a year. I mean, the term doesn't shock me. I didn't think. I mean, I knew he was going to probably give him a bit of a discount, but I didn't think it'd be that much of a discount. But he is definitely telling Stan Bowman, "You have 2 years to get me a Stanley Cup, or I'm leaving when the salary cap's at $120 million, and I'll go get my $21 million a year somewhere else."
Yep. Either that, or when we weren't looking, Alberta became a tax-free province.
Yeah.
I keep hearing that, everybody takes discounts in Florida because it's tax-free.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know if you saw it. I know you're not on X anymore, but Roberto Luongo quote tweeted the Friedman post, and it was like, "Oh yeah, another no income tax state gets another big fish." I mean, I'm not surprised McDavid does something like this. That there's nobody that is more driven to win than he is, especially if you watch the Amazon Prime series last year. I haven't gotten into this year's yet.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm actually donating platelets, so I'll get started on that.
Yeah, I mean the season prior when they covered the first Oiler Panthers Stanley Cup final, that was so good. I was surprised at how much access they actually got, but it was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, McDavid gets 12.5. And then the other news was Utah Mammoth. For the time being, they're getting sued again for their name. According to Frank Saravalli, who's pretty plugged in, Logan Cooley turned down an 8-year, $77 million contract by the Utahns. That surprises me because that is quite the haul. I mean, that's $9.6 million a year for a kid that has 45 goals and 109 points in 57 games. So not the production of a Connor Bedard, but not bad either. I mean,
yeah,
better point per games than a Frank Nazar. But that, I know Greg Landry, the agent for Connor Bedard, saw those 2 news flashes come through the other day and started rubbing his hands and started, okay, now I have my target zone, because if Logan Cooley is demanding more than $10 million, Connor Bedard is getting more than that.
Oh yeah. And he should. I mean, and Bedard, every player is in a different situation. Every player has a different hierarchy of needs. And a guy like Connor Bedard might be like McDavid, where he says, okay, here's the deal. He might say, I want 3 and 36. Or bridge however much he needs to bridge to get to UFA, and say, okay, let's see where we are then, and we'll talk again. I don't know that he necessarily wants to go for the full. Well, it's still 8 until the end of the season, right? Is the max?
I think,
because I know bits and pieces of the new CBA are in.
I think you could, once the season started, I don't know if you can sign an 8-year deal.
Okay.
I thought I read that, but that might not be true.
So
either.
even if 7 is the max, I don't know they would want to do the full 7.
I'm not sure the Blackhawks want to either, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I mean, they may want to try that bridge deal to get him to where he's still an RFA the next time his contract is up, because they'll have a better idea of who's here, who's going to need to get paid, to where the salary cap is at. And if I'm his agent, I'm not going for a long-term deal because, the salary cap is going to go way up, and B, his worth is going to go way up over the next 2-3 seasons. So why commit to something to where you're going to be seriously underpaid in a couple of years?
And the salary cap's going to go up because at some point there's going to be another expansion.
Oh yeah, they're dying for that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of where is it going to be.
Yeah, let's try Atlanta for the 3rd time. Maybe this will work.
Atlanta and Arizona. What the hell?
Let's go for it. Let's keep punching ourselves in the nuts. Maybe it won't hurt this time. Bedard not signing an extension before the season is the least surprising thing to happen all off season. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
There's no rush, but I can also see Bedard as one of these guys that is like a McDavid and like a Sidney Crosby, where he's like, I don't care if I'm the highest paid guy in the league. I don't care if I'm even the highest paid guy on this team. Just, let's get something done where, it's worth my while, but we also have some space here to go out and get guys and keep this team together. He's got such a great relationship with some of these other young guys that they've all come up together. He might say, give me $2 million less so we can keep Oliver Moore here, or we could keep, Wyatt Kaiser beyond his deal, stuff like that. So, such a fluid situation.
And, everybody, whenever in every sport, you should always look at who the smartest guy in the business is and try to do what they do. And the smartest guy in hockey is Bill Zito. And, Zito got, Zito, you look at the way that their pay is structured, where Barkov is the highest paid player on the Panthers, but he doesn't make a lot. He can get cheese on his Whopper, don't get me wrong. But, he's at what, about 10 million or so?
Yeah, I don't think they have anybody over
and
10.
He's said his hard and fast rule is nobody makes more than Barkov. So if, he basically told Ekblad, nobody makes more than Barkov. If you want to go get paid, no hard feelings, go. He went out and got Seth Jones because he is, that was his Aaron Ekblad insurance.
Yeah.
And that Ekblad wound up coming back, which I didn't see coming.
No. Yes. Barkov is at 10. And so is Bobrovsky. But this is the last year of that contract. But Zito didn't sign that contract.
Right. Bobrovsky was that was the Columbus contract. This is the last year of his Columbus contract.
Right. He didn't sign that contract, nor did he acquire that contract. That was a Dale Talon move. So those two guys are at 10. Then you have Tkachuk at 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
8.6 for Reinhardt, 8 for Bennett, 7 for Hagee and Jones, 5.2 for Marchand, 6.1 for Ekblad, 5.7 for Forsling. Mikkola will get bumped up to 5 after this year. Lundell is at 5.
Right,
so, I mean, they're
gone at the deadline.
Probably.
Or thereabouts.
Unless, with Barkov gone the whole year, there really is no reason to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, they can always figure out scratches when the playoffs come.
Yeah.
I assume Barkov is going to make a trip to Lourdes before the first game of the playoffs.
I mean, stranger things have happened. People were already fawning over the fact that he wasn't on crutches at their ring ceremony last night. Like, oh, look at that. He'll be back by Thanksgiving. No.
Yeah, walking with a knee brace under your pants is a lot different than trying to bump Sidney Crosby off the puck.
Playing Selke quality defense in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right.
But Zito, yeah, he has his hard and fast rule. Nobody gets more than Barkov. The Avalanche, I don't know if they've publicly said it, but they didn't want to pay Rantanen more than McKinnon.
Right.
You're going to have to pay Makar more than McKinnon. Sorry.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think McKinnon would fight you.
No, he doesn't want to see another guy go away for nothing. And then now the whole Martin Necas thing, the big piece of the return for Rantanen. And man, if he walks, you need to fire the GM.
Yeah,
because that's just awful management of the roster.
Yes, let's fire Joe Sakic.
Well, he's not the GM anymore. He's the president.
He's president of hockey ops, but
he's the Jed Hoyer of the Avalanche. Not the GM, but still in charge. But I do. Marty Necas would look really good playing on Connor Bedard's line for the next few years. Just throwing that out there. He can't wear number 8 though, but he'd look good in a Hawks uniform.
Well, it's funny too because the one thing about Bedard is, if John McDonough were still president of the Blackhawks, not only would there have been a Blackhawks convention this year, but night one of the convention would have been they would have announced Connor Bedard getting 8 years at $160 million.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's
bidding against himself to get a historic contract.
Let's face it. If John McDonough were still here, they wouldn't have Connor Bedard because they'd be the Nashville Predators trying to get the 8th seed every year.
Right.
Yeah. They would have gave that contract to Artemi Panarin second time around. And speaking of Artemi Panarin and the Rangers, they are getting shut out 1-0 on home ice to the mighty Pittsburgh Penguins right now.
Yeah. That's right. Matt Rempe's going to get 2 goals.
They actually had Matt Rempe on the second power play unit.
Oh my God.
They did. I thought Mike Sullivan was smarter than that, but they did. And I just saw a couple of minutes ago, Matt Rempe got checked off the puck by Erik Karlsson.
Oh, man.
I do have to say, though.
He is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, and these respected Stanley Cup winning coaches still feel that they can get something out of that guy, but whatever. I am not a New York Rangers fan by any means. If you've ever listened to any of my previous podcasts, I hate all New York sports teams. I did make one exception. I did cheer for the 94 Rangers to win the cup because that's how much I loved Steve Larmer. I put my hatred of all things New York aside so Gramps can get a cup.
There were so many Blackhawks on
that team. Brian Noonan, Stefan Matteau, Eddie Olczyk before Mike Keenan shot him out of a cannon into the moon before the start of the final.
Mike Hudson.
Yeah, Mike Hudson was on that team too. Yeah. Despite it being a New York team, I really liked that particular squad. They were a fun team.
Well, what was funny was my nickname for them was the Oil Hawks.
Yeah, because they had a ton of Oilers too.
Yeah.
Messier and Glenn Anderson on that team.
Glenn Anderson. Well, right at the deadline, Messier and Mike Gartner hated each other. So Messier basically went to Neil Smith was the GM at the time. And Messier went to Neil Smith and said, get me Glenn Anderson. I want Gartner out of here. Because the year before, there was basically a revolt in the clubhouse over Roger Nielsen. And Messier and Gartner were in opposite factions in that revolt. So Messier and Gartner did not care for each other one bit. So they trade Gartner to Toronto for Glenn Anderson in what Sean McIndoe refers to as the greatest mustache for mustache trade in hockey history.
Well, yeah, only because Lanny McDonald never got traded for one of those guys.
Yeah, but Esa Tikkanen was on that team, and Kevin Lowe and Jeff Bookeboom, just Oilers everywhere. And that was also the first. That was also a fun team because, well, that final you had it was them against the Canucks, and the Canucks had Pavel Bure. So either way, you were going to get the first Russian on a Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is going to be so much fun because that was Don Cherry. The game passed him by so long ago, and one of his things was that non-Canadian players didn't understand what winning the Stanley Cup meant. I was like, grapes, you idiot. It's like every player wants to win the championship in whatever league they're in, from beer league up to the National Hockey League.
Yeah, that's why you get into it.
Yeah, and believe me, those guys all completely understand the importance of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, for sure. But I do have to say, these Rangers Centennial jerseys, I didn't like them when they released them online, but in person on the ice, they're pretty sharp.
Like they look a lot like the ones they wore in for the 75th anniversary.
Yeah,
with kind of the block letters.
Yeah, it's a classic jersey. As much as I don't like the Rangers or any team from New York, the Rangers jersey is classic. It's
as a Blackhawks fan for half a century plus, I have to say those Red Wings jerseys are beautiful. I love the flannel lettering.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. I do have to give credit to another longtime rival. After the preseason game the other night, those St. Louis Blues uniforms I got this year.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Those road whites with the yellow trim and the lighter blue, just against the Blackhawk red and black. Man, was that an aesthetically pleasing game.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, the Hawks, I'm looking forward to seeing the Hawks centennial jerseys on the ice, sweaters on the ice. I will also say that I would love if they would let the Hawks have a few games in whites at home.
That'd be cool.
You know,
I'm a big supporter of home whites across the league, period. Go back to that way, especially when I was a season ticket holder. I was bummed that it was always red versus white. I wanted to see everybody else's colors when they came through town. The AHL does it right. The first half of the season, I believe they wear their color jerseys at home, and then after Christmas, they swap it up and everybody wears their white. It might be the other way around, but half the season they wear the colored jerseys, and then the other half of the season they wear the white jerseys at home. So you get to see, and that's even better because you essentially, if you're going to the Ice Hogs or the Wolves games, you're essentially seeing the same 6 teams 14 times a year. So you probably get sick of the same uniforms.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the way to do it.
Rockford's got the Screw Cities and whatever else they wear, but still. And the Blackhawks white sweater is like, for me, I always refer to them as stadium whites because I grew up with them wearing the whites at the stadium. And then when I moved to New York and I would go to games at the Garden or at the Coliseum, or then once the Devils came in, I'd go out to New Jersey and see them there, and seeing them in the red was a little jarring. So.
Well, it was also kind of cool as a kid to go see him in the whites because you never got to see him unless you went to the stadium.
Right.
So you always saw the reds because the road games were on TV. But when you'd go to the stadium and you'd see the whites and the way they popped with that little bit of green and the patches and it was like, wow, this is cool.
Also in the Norris Division days, it showed off the blood better.
Yeah. Well, especially for some of these guys, because they, back in the day, those guys had to wear the same jersey throughout the whole season.
Oh yeah.
So you'd see. We had a guy. We were at a back when with CHGO a couple years ago. We did a live broadcast from the big card show in Rosemont. And we had a guy who was a jersey collector come and show us a bunch of jerseys. And he actually had Dirk Graham's jersey from the Stanley Cup final year. And it was all sewed up and patched up and had blood stains and other stains all over the jersey. But it was kind of cool to see that. We actually ran in the Yarmer Yager there. He was at some booth, like 3 booths down from where we were broadcasting. And we went and talked to him and took a picture with him. And, I had told him, I said, 14-year-old me hasn't forgiven you from 1992 yet. And he's like, what happened in 1992? I was like, you beat the Blackhawks in the Cup finals. Like, oh, yeah, that. And he said, well, you guys got revenge in 2013. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. You were on that Bruins team.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I forgive you now. It's all good.
It was funny because at one of the Blackhawks conventions, they had a panel of a bunch of the early 90s Hawks there. Goulet was on the panel, and Manson and Gilbert, and I don't remember who else. That's where I actually got Michel Goulet to tell his great Banff story. But they said, what happened in 92? And they said in unison, we were outcoached. So.
Yeah. Oh, I've started the very beginnings, but maybe this summer I have the ambition to do a long deep dive into that season, and kind of cover it from start to finish, and what led up to that season, and go through them. But I got to do a lot of research if I want to do it right, and getting access to Trib and Sun Times articles from 91, 92 is a little challenging. Well, if you want it for free, it's a little challenging.
Right. I was going to say.
But that's something I want. I've been
the
wanting
subscribe
to tackle.
button.
Yeah, there you go.
Subscribe button so we can start running some ads and Greg can pay for this stuff.
But that's been something I've wanted to do for a while. Maybe I'll save it for the 25th anniversary of that year. That's coming up soon. Next year. Maybe I can it would be fun to start it and kind of run it concurrently with the actual dates. So if something big happened in October that year, you run a story as if it was actually happening and kind of get into the nuts and bolts. But we'll see. We got to get through the Boston game first before we can really dig in that.
Right.
Yes, take Frank's advice. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your friends. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, please follow and give us a 5-star review there. That's where we get to do everything, organically, word of mouth.
And on YouTube, I do try to go through the comment section and reply. So thank you all for commenting. We do appreciate that too.
Absolutely. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell some weirdo you sit next to on the bus, hey, check out this podcast. Every view counts.
You know what? When you start getting all those spam texts on your phone, send them a link to the podcast. There
you go. That's a hell of an idea. I had a couple of those today. That's a great idea. It's better than how I usually reply to them, but
well,
all right.
I have that's what the photo album on my phone is for.
Yes. If you follow Frank on social media, he definitely gets a kick out of dealing with the spam text messages, proving that they aren't manned by human beings. All right, that's going to wrap it up here. We're going to try and get you another episode as quickly as we can. I don't know. We'll confer off the air what our schedules look like over the next few days.
Yeah.
And we'll get back and talk more hockey. We definitely appreciate all of you listening and subscribing and all that fun stuff and helping spread the word.
16,666.
And you know what? We will see you again soon up here in the second balcony. And until then, be good to each other. We'll talk to you real soon.
All right.